It is great to be back on the airwaves here in Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome to the Chico Borman Show here on Big Play. Absolutely, positively geeked, if you want the truth. Oh, we got people crawling under desks, hitting buttons. All right, let's just do this right out of the gate. Let's just be very, very full disclosure. I've always been a full disclosure type of guy. So many of you may remember, if you listened to me on a different station when I hosted Chico After Dark, you may remember that technology, not really my thing. You know, I can get by, I guess, depending on what your definition of get by is. But it's, somebody else handled that. And, I was concentrating on, talking to Chuck in Cleveland and saying whatever the hell I was going to say. This is now, like, I've got a bunch of buttons at my disposal, and I feel like if I hit the wrong one, Burke Lakefront Airport's going to go up in smoke. And I don't want to do that. Because we have these are great studios that Big Play has provided for all of us. In this case, for me, here with the Chico Borman Show. But folks, there's going to be a few glitches along the way, is what I'm saying. Okay, there's going to be a few glitches, and if I accidentally drop your call, and by the way, if you would like to call in to the Chico Borman Show, 216-626-7901. If you want to call into the show, we can do that. If I drop you by accident, I will apologize. If I don't apologize, that means I meant to drop you. And because, those people will still exist also. That's okay. Listen, I've got so much to get to. This show is going to be Monday through Friday from 1 until 3 in the afternoon. You can stream it on YouTube. I'm looking over at Nick there, making sure I got all of them right. Yeah, YouTube.
Yep. The Twitter. I mean, you can watch it right live on your Twitter now, Chico.
What?
So right on Chico Show Cleveland.
Yep. Yeah. Chico Show CLE. Like they've got it so like as soon as the show starts, this blew my mind. Again, full disclosure. As soon as the show starts, it immediately triggers something to all of the social media out there. Like what is this? Like this is the Jetsons or something.
Welcome to the internet, Chico Borman. Hey, another housekeeping thing.
Yes.
If you would like to share your own show on your Twitter, I could teach you how to hit retweet as well.
Now, the retweet button. We always love smartasses on the Chico Borman Show as well. Those will get plenty of. Now, the retweet, I'm very familiar. I can quote tweet. I can't do. Yeah, I can. Oh yeah, I can quote tweet. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. But yeah, you guys have so many bells and whistles here that it's just it's amazing. So when I say there's going to be glitches, I'm going to be screwing something up, technologically speaking. But hey. Bottom line is, and the most important thing is, all kidding aside, folks, I cannot tell you. I tweeted out earlier in the week that I felt like a kid Christmas week, Christmas morning, like, I've got 3 more wake-ups until Christmas Day. I got 2 more wake-ups. Once this is in your blood, and by this I mean talking sports, maybe it's just radio, period. But for me, it's talking sports, but talking sports in Cleveland with you. Okay? And that's, once I do that and have done that, it's always going to be there. There's always going to be that, man, I got to get back to that. Are there other things that I've done over the last 6 months? Sure. We won't get into that right now because I don't think anybody really cares. And that's okay. You have lives. You have St. Pat. You might have some green beer. You might not even be able to make out what I'm saying because you're hammered. Happy St. Patrick's Day, kids. Or you're watching the tournament or whatever. But a lot has been going on over the last 6 months and trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And there was some thought maybe I go somewhere and, looked into a couple of those opportunities. And you know what it came down to? And I had a buddy of mine in the business say, hey, you got to go where the work is, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like, I love it here. You people know that I love it here. You people have the same passion that I have for sports and for our sports teams here in Cleveland. Nationwide, you say Cleveland, Ohio, and you'll have a lot of people, oh, well, sorry about that. Sorry about your luck. Wow, that's got to be right. I'll laugh it off. Sometimes I think we all just kind of, whatever. But deep down, you have no idea how proud I am, Nick is, Dave is, all of you are, of being from Cleveland. Okay, there's been some heartbreak, a lot of heartbreak. Okay, there's been, front offices that haven't gone so well. There have been coaching hires that haven't gone so well. There's been droughts for a while, all that stuff. But if you're from here or you've spent any great deal of time here, you know that just kind of bonds us, right? It's a bond that nobody else can. You can make all the jokes you want about the Cuyahoga River and it's on fire and wow, the Indians were bad for so long. They made a movie about them, and then the Browns, so close but so far away, and wow, what are the Cavs going to do without LeBron? And that's fine. I mean, if you people say what you want to say. Here in Cleveland, here in Northeast Ohio, we are proud to be in Northeast Ohio, from Northeast Ohio, talk sports in Northeast Ohio. And, it might sound cheesy, it might sound corny, and that's okay. But once it's in your blood, as it is mine, and I grew up, I mean, people, those of you who know me, who have heard me say this, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, going to, old Indians games and sitting in the dog pound watching the Browns and the Richfield Coliseum watching the Cavaliers. And so, I mean, all of my memories, everything is right here in Cleveland. And to be able to talk sports and to do so with you people in the city that I don't take that for granted. Yeah, sure, there are some days where maybe I need to remind myself a little more when things are going tough or you think you had a bad day. But I never, and trust me on this one, I never, ever take that for granted. And I hope I never will. And if I do, somebody's going to let me know that, and they should. This is a special city. You people are special people. When I started talking to the folks at Big Play and Ken Miles and Dave McAllister and everybody, one of the things that was important to me when we started talking about the possibility of this podcast was I want to be able to, basically have that talk show format. I want to be able to talk to you people. Some of you are saying, well, man, you were kind of rough with... Yeah, I mean, and that's probably going to happen again at some point. But that interaction, that banner is something that I always looked forward to and will always look forward to. It's what makes this town special. It's what makes what I do very rewarding and very fulfilling. There are jobs where you can make a hell of a lot more money. You can save lives. For me, this is what I love to do. And it's not just this is what I love to do. It's what I love to do because it's right here in Cleveland, Ohio. So it is great to be back. 216-626-7901. I mentioned wanting to take calls. And Big Play said, hey, that's exactly kind of what they were just as excited as I was. They wanted to have that talk show format. They wanted to have, open phone segments, which we're going to have each and every first hour of the show. We'll have guests at the top of the second hour. Today, it's going to be my longtime buddy Eric Edholm with NFL.com. Yeah, we'll talk a little free agency. We'll talk obviously plenty of Browns, and we'll just do what we do, just have some fun. Most of all, when push comes to shove, at the end of the day, we're going to have fun. That's what every single one of these guys here do. If you've watched and had a chance to listen and watch to the Reflog show or Bernie and Hanford show, Boobie Gibson debuted yesterday with Rafa, and they absolutely killed it. There's one common theme: have fun. If you're not having fun, then what the hell's the point? And it's going to come out on the airwaves. Nick, you know that. You're from this area as well. Like, the vibe here, and I'm not just saying this because the bosses might be listening. They probably are, actually, for their lunch. Probably like, want to make sure this guy knows what the hell he's doing. But the passion from the folks at Big Play, but also the fun. The moment you walk in here, there's just a great vibe.
Yeah.
And you can't fake that, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is here for the same reason, Chico. And obviously we want to, have a successful network and all of these things. But Big Play started out because Dave just wanted to talk sports online with his friends. And we all met because of the internet. And that's how we all kind of came together. So everyone here is in it for the same reason. That's why we're excited to have you talking sports every single day on the network. And it's going to be just a lot of fun. And that's what everything that we do is all about here.
So again, the first show in a while and the debut show here, there's going to be the introduction but we're going to get after it, and we're definitely going to talk plenty of sports. We're going to have some fun with other stuff too, but it's going to be, if you listen to Chico After Dark for the last 4 years or so, 5 years or so. First of all, thank you very, very much. If you followed me over here to Big Play, thank you again very, very much. You're going to see a lot of similarities, okay? Same kind of style. I'm not going to change my style. Big Play doesn't want me to change my style, and if they did, I wouldn't be here. One of the things that I also love, and I think many of you know this about me, I'm true to myself. I'm going to be genuine. And sometimes that's going to piss people off, and sometimes, it's going to endear them. We'll see what happens. But, you're going to get that from me every single day. You will get that from me every single day. Now, obviously, this is a pretty nice day to launch when you're talking about the sports world and a sports talk show. We've got March Madness in full effect. Okay, we've got the brackets, which I'm not going to go through my Final Four and say, how's your bracket? But you got hoops galore going on right now. Obviously, I mentioned St. Patrick's Day. We've got a ton of free agency news. We're going to be getting into that here in just a moment and talking some Browns with you. And most importantly, again, I want to hear from you guys at 216-626-7901. So we're going to do that. We're going to be talking plenty of baseball, not necessarily in today's show, but one of the guests that you may remember me having on from back in my days with Chico After Dark, Brett Boone, former All-Star second baseman. He's going to be joining me each and every Wednesday, and we're going to be getting ready because the Guardians, I am geeked for the Guardian season. That's another thing that people know about me, right? And sometimes, you didn't like that. You're just you just carry the water for the Dolans, Chica. You just love the... Yeah, I love the game of baseball, but I love organizations that know how to run their business, that know how to do what they do very, very well. And the Cleveland Guardians do that. The Cleveland Guardians have done that for a while now. Are there things that I wish would change and hopefully is going to be changing even more? The money being spent? Absolutely. Absolutely. But in terms of, great organizations, yeah, we're going to be talking plenty of Guardians baseball. Opening day right around the corners. They're going to be out west, so we'll have plenty of that. The Cavs are on the brink of the playoffs, about 10 games left. There's plenty to be excited about. There's also plenty, I shouldn't say plenty, there's a few to be concerned about as well. But we're going to get into all of that and then some. Pretty much I'd say everything is fair. And there's really nothing that is... Well, if I say there's nothing out of bounds, Nick, I'm just kind of stepping in it right there, ain't I?
I mean, hey, Booby said yesterday on his show, he said in Booby's world, anything goes was his exact quote. So, I mean, it's the internet, Chico. So, they're FCC and all that. It's if you get hot, you can get hot on Big Play now.
Now, now I'm starting to think, what do you think I'd look like in Booby's sunglasses? For any of you that saw the show last night.
We were all talking about that, of how do we acquire a bulk pack of Louis Vuitton sunglasses to have just on hand here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Trust me, it was a conversation that was had.
Because see, here's the thing. Not everybody can pull that off.
No.
You know what I mean?
And he it wasn't like he eased into it. I mean, he showed up sunglasses on. Like, it was, yeah.
That's kind of like how, you saw me when I strolled in. It's like, who's this dork walking in? Yeah. Oh, some guys can pull that off. Booby can certainly pull that off. But, yeah, this is going to be, everything is pretty much fair game. We'll keep it, hopefully, within reason. But you want to call in, you want to talk, you want to interact, 216-626-7901 on Twitter. My personal account at Big Play Chico, the show's Twitter account at Chico Show, ChicoShowCle. Give that a follow if you haven't already. And if you haven't, you click on that. You'll be able to watch us every day via the Twitter, the Tweeter, the Twitster. You can YouTube, all of that stuff. It's all fantastic. But it is great to be back. I can't wait to talk to you folks. We will throughout the course of this show, throughout the course of shows forthcoming. But let me just tell you, I am grateful and ready to go. All right. So there has been quite a bit in terms of free agency, and everybody's talking about, they bring in, the Cleveland Browns bring in Obo, and they bring in Dalvin Tomlinson and Juan Thornhill, which I like the Thornhill signing, by the way, comes over from Kansas City. And I was thinking about this, listening to Reflog show and listening to Bernie and Hanford, and just in general, hearing people talk about, what's been going on with the Browns and NFL in general, obviously with free agency and whatnot. Let me just say, I don't know if Tomlinson and Obo and Thornhill and Hurst, I don't know if these guys are going to work out. Like, are they good signings? I think they appear to be on paper. But one thing that I don't think we are talking enough about, and we're going to talk a lot about it today, is this is a team that has never really lacked talent. Now, you go back years and years ago, right? And for the longest time, it was, man, can we just have somebody who's not a first-round bust? Can we just draft somebody that ends up being with this team past, 2 or 3 seasons? And so there was a time, yes, when the Cleveland Browns organization did not have much talent. And it got to a point where, hey, you know what? Even if they're kind of a bad seed or they've got a shady past, just anything to make us relevant, anything to put talent on the field. Well, that's changed, okay? That has changed a great deal. They've had some good drafts finally, and there's a multitude of people that are responsible for that. Not only do you have a good draft, but what comes after that? Well, you have guys that are up for second contract. We didn't even know what second contracts were back in like 2015. Second contract, yeah. Now you got a lot of guys that we want him to stick around. We want to sign him long term. Nick Chubb, Wyatt Teller, obviously, plenty of other guys across the Browns roster that you want to bring in. You like who they are as a football player, as a person. They fit right in. Let's do this. So the talent's there. But damn it, if there is one thing that I think we all found out last year, the year before last year, and I know there was a lot of, hey, this isn't your normal season, right? You had the Deshaun Watson suspension. You had but there's one thing that just grinded my gears. And so when we're talking about who the Browns are bringing in now and who the coaching changes are, and Jim Schwartz on the defensive side of the ball, and Bubba Ventrone as far as special teams, and Joe Woods and Mike Prefer are now gone. All of that sounds good. But what kind of leadership are we getting in that locker room? What leadership do the Browns have in that locker room? And when we say leadership, I think we automatically and only point toward Kevin Stefanski. Like, well, what's, the head coach? He's obviously who you're looking at. He's the guy that you want to talk to and hear from, and that's it. No, he's one of them, and his assistants are more of them. But ultimately, I thought last year the thing that really hurt the Browns more than anything was you had guys in this team that just didn't seem to be bought in. And if they were, quote unquote, bought in, it was kind of more of the, I got to get mine first, and then, we'll worry about all that team stuff later. And you saw that right out of the gate. I mean, you've got miscommunication. Guys aren't where they're supposed to be in the secondary. John Johnson's a great example. Now, John Johnson wasn't a horrible football player last year. John Johnson isn't a horrible teammate by any stretch of the imagination, as far as I know. I'm not in that locker room on a daily basis. But I do know that when you bring in a John Johnson for 3 years and $33 million, he's got to bring more to the table than he did. And not only that, you're kind of, and this is kind of like the unspoken word that if you're brought in, you're sought after the way John Johnson was in coming over from the Rams, you got to provide leadership. You can't be one of the guys that are catalysts for the finger pointing and, well, who missed that coverage and who missed that. No, that stuff can't go on. And so I felt like there was a lot of that last year. I felt like there was a lot of just guys that were out for themselves. And so, as we look at this roster, and yes, Deshaun Watson with a full season and with Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator, from a scheme standpoint, things are going to change. We hope for the better. I think they will. But ultimately, what are the guys in that locker room? What are they all about? Because for so many, what's been the biggest buzzword in Berea? For years and years and years, it's been culture. Culture, 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 winning culture. I thought, I'll raise my hand, that after 2020, with all of the obstacles, the pandemic, and wow, if ever a team is proving to themselves and everybody throughout the country that they are one and they are a great locker room and have great chemistry, it's going to be when you're basically having to go virtual and then you're playing football. And well, after that, and I don't know if I chalk that up to, everybody else also had to do that, so they had an advantage, or the fact that nobody really expected the Browns that year to do what they did. That probably played into it a little bit. But since that season, that's been missing. Like that leadership, that winning culture, that tough, smart, accountable. It sounds good. And I used to love when good old Mike Pettin would say in press conferences, "Hey, we played like a Brown," and nobody really could define that. Nobody really knew what that meant unless you saw it on the field, and you just didn't see it consistently. So last year, I saw a lot of breakdown in coverage, and not just, secondary, special teams, timeout on the field, come back from timeout, another whistle, penalty flag, 12 guys on the field. I mean, like, that stuff is just mind-boggling to me. And so we can talk about Obo, we can talk about Tomlinson, we can talk about who else is coming in. Maurice Hurst on the defensive line. We can talk about, well, are they going to add a wide receiver and what are they going to do in the draft? But I think it's time. Andrew Berry's a great talent evaluator. Okay, I don't think there's many that can disagree with that statement. I think he's a great talent evaluator. It doesn't mean that he hits on all of them. I get that. But, like, take a guy like Perrion Winfrey, for instance. We were all excited. Why were we all excited last year initially? First of all, he played at Oklahoma, and, yeah, he could be a disruptor. But when he came in and he had that frothing at the mouth and, you know, he's just going nuts, running down, whatever the hell he's doing, he's like, yeah. He plays like a Brown. He's one of ours. That guy's going to be, well, what did he do on the field? Obviously not a whole lot. He was a DNP. Didn't even dress a lot of times because, well, whatever he was doing or not doing, coaches kind of got fed up with him.
Chico, he fell off a bird scooter downtown, and that's why he was like that happened. That's like that was reported in Cleveland.com that he fell off a bird scooter downtown, and that's
was
why
that. Can we chalk everything up to the? I mean, was it that like?
No, but that's one of the crazy, bizarre things of last year.
Isn't there a weight limit on those things? I mean,
if I was a defensive tackle, I probably wouldn't want to step foot on one of them.
I mean, and I'm not trying to pick on Perrion Winfrey. You know what I mean? But It just seems like, Nick, that you get caught. Jadeveon Clowney's another one. Like, is Jadeveon Clowney a great player? Sure he is. When he wants to be a great player. Enough of those guys. And like Andrew Berry, man, he sought him out. He absolutely, positively wanted Jadeveon Clowney. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with it because, again, when he wants to play, he's going to play. But, you know, I'm not a big practice guy. We heard that when he came over from Tennessee. I remember talking to one of their writers on my show, and he's like, oh, you know, just understand that Jadeveon, he's got no problem showing up on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays, but as far as practice goes, you know, that's really not his bet. Well, that's an issue. I mean, if you're genuinely hurt or you're a veteran but this was just, I don't feel like it. And then, of course, we all heard what happened with him and Myles Garrett, right? And kind of, you know, jealousy. That's, to me, that scenario, what played out with Jadeveon Clowney talking about Myles Garrett and the fact that, well, you know, everybody just wants to make Myles look. To me, that was the epitome of what the Browns were last year. And I know there were a lot of obstacles. You know, Deshaun wasn't there. Jacoby Brissett, I thought, played pretty darn well. But at the heart of it, that's what the big problem was. So we can talk about talent all we want. Are these guys going to buy in and play for each other and buy into that tough, smart, accountable? Sounds great until you can't do it consistently.
Yeah, I think it was easy to do over Zoom, you know, in that pandemic year, how you were alluding to. But now that they got to bring everybody in that building together and get that thing right. I'm with you.
All right, 216-626-7901. If you're just tuning in, you're looking on your screen going, Chico, you have lost a lot. I've been bald for a while. I've been bald for a long time. This light right in front of me, like I said, there's a lot of technology stuff but is the glare all right? Or I'm going to have to start putting makeup later.
No, it's good. You know what we do a lot, and obviously, you know, Dave, you know, a fellow member of the bald community, if you will.
Bald Brotherhood, yeah.
The Bald
Nick
Brotherhood.
Shook's going to be coming on the show Tuesday.
Okay, cool. Big into hats. Big Play is big into hats. I don't know, are you a hat guy, Chico?
Not really. I don't look real good in here.
I know you, and you're also like, I feel like you're like also like kind of buttoned up, you know, like you got the collar. We roll in here in hoodies and t-shirts, and in the summer probably shorts.
See, I have no problem like doing that per se. I see a lot of this is I'm kind of reverting back to my radio days, but people would say, "Well, you weren't on the air." Yeah, but you had certain people that, you know, hopefully you didn't want them to.
Right.
Which now I don't give a damn about. It's for another story. But yeah, I would say that this is kind of the normal attire for me. So you're saying maybe I Maybe I come in with a bandana.
Whatever you're feeling.
Bandana and shades or something. All right. I'll take that into consideration. All right. We do have a call here, don't we?
We do.
Been waiting on hold for a while. The first caller to the Chico Borman Show here on Big Play. And again, 216-626-7901. By the way, top of the hour, we're going to go around the NFL. We will talk some Browns, but we will go around Aaron Rodgers and the drama. Jeez, oh man, give it a rest. Eric Edholm, NFL.com will be my guest. But let's welcome in Dave right now, who's joining the show. Hello, Dave. Dave? Is Dave here? Now, see, Nick, I'm glad I had that right out of the gate because this says on my screen, do you want to ban the caller? I don't know if I'm ready to do that just yet. You know, maybe he dozed off on hold.
Is he back?
Maybe he's hammered. I don't know. Do you want me
It
to
is.
try?
It's St. Patrick's Day.
Want me to try it again?
Yeah, let's try it again.
All right, let's try it. Dave, are you there?
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome aboard, Dave.
How are you?
I'm geeked. I'll be honest with you. I'm geeked, and
I
I'm
just wanna put this
nervous.
out there. I think you are a bandana guy.
A bandana guy? Well, basically all bald guys would. You say that a bandana usually works best, looks best on a bald guy. So that's why you're saying that.
So the reason for my call, and then
Yes.
I'll hang up and listen,
Okay.
is, by the way, I'm loving all the radio buzzwords. Up against it, top of the hour, nailing it, total pros pro.
This is my biggest transition. It's not like nervous talking sports. I'm looking every time I turn, there's a button I see that I don't know what it does. And I'm afraid that like my
Have you found
elbows.
the retweet button yet?
So this guy's taking after.
So you know what?
Our other
Live
buddy.
on air, I'm going to walk you through how to retweet on Twitter. So Chico, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your cell phone,
Okay, I'm looking at my cell phone.
and I want you to pull up the Twitter app, not Twitter.com, Twitter app.
Got a lot of messages here. I don't know if that's good or bad. All right, so I'm on the Twitter, and
And then you're going to go to your show.
oh, you want me to? So not my personal Twitter, Dave. You would like me to go to the show?
No.
What?
I want you to go on your personal Twitter,
Okay.
and then you could retweet your own show, so then your audience could see it.
Where do this is getting a little too fancy. What are we, Nick? Do you see where that's? I see the Chico Borman Show, which on Twitter people can find at Chico Show CLE. Is that what you're referring to, Dave?
Yeah, and then after you retweet that from your personal, I want you to pull up your MySpace.
MySpace? What are you out of your MySpace? I don't have a MySpace account. Instagram? Instaface, as Belichick called it? I don't have an Instagram account. Oh, man, the show does.
I have full faith in the world.
The
You're
show
going to
does.
figure this out, buddy.
Okay. I see. I already retweeted. Nick, will you come here for 1 second? I'm sorry. I don't mean to bother you. I know you. But, like,
I'm going to hang up.
all right. Thank you, Dave. It was
You're crushing it.
it was
Welcome,
very
my
good
man.
here. I don't want to drop myself there. All right. All right. So he dropped. All right. So look at my screen there. Look at my phone. I already retweeted that, didn't I?
Check this out, though, Chico. You could retweet on the show
Yeah.
the actual stream of you sitting in here so people could come.
Whoa, that's what you guys were referring to. Oh, man. Okay. Now it's an easier link for the people.
Yeah, right. So now people could watch your show right on your Twitter live every day from 1 to 3. And all you have to do is just to hit retweet. And you could do that like right at the beginning when you had that pre-show intro on.
Did you, I mentioned earlier, did you ever, like, I just feel like my left elbow, well, people can see because there's cameras. There's cameras in here. I don't know if you noticed that. There's like all these buttons right off to the left of my left elbow.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to hit something and it's just going to go bzzz, and I, you know what I mean? So I'm getting used to this setup. I'm an old fart radio guy, but podcast is how it's done now.
Yeah, and so far so good, I would say. You hit that football transition like you've been doing it for years.
Yeah, but I'm kind of discombobulated. I'm not comfortable in my settings, and I have to be comfortable in my settings, or I'm not Chico.
Right.
Yeah,
We'll get
Choco.
you there. Choco.
I'm not Chico. All right. 216-626-7901. Nick, am I off base as far as put it this way? People would always say, "Oh, you're being too negative." I hear that a lot. Like, well, if you were more positive, I'm not being negative because I think there's a lot to like about this Browns team. I think there's a lot to love about, Andrew Berry. But I just feel like we keep talking about, oh, wow, that guy can play. We think that guy's going to fit in great. But until we actually see this locker room come together and not be seemingly divided and out for themselves, I can't make any determination.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans are in a weird spot right now where, okay, there's not games being played right now, right? So all that they have to be excited about is, Dalvin Tomlinson getting signed to a 3-year deal. So they're looking for positivity in that way. But I hear where you're coming from of having done this for so many years and seeing this play out over and over again. Started off, Chico, we're the same. Started off as a child and then through early adulthood, just heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. And then as a professional, and it's like, I've seen this movie so many times where we get our hopes up and then just get let down. And I think that's where you're coming from, is until we actually see it materialize on the field. And you think back to last season, should have been 2-0 if it wasn't for that epic collapse in that Jets game. That's the kind of stuff that you're talking about, Chico, is it all needs to come together. You could have all these individual talents until you're blue in the face, but if they don't gel on the field, in the locker room, if they're pointing fingers, throwing each other under buses and in press conferences, then it's never going to matter.
How much of this is what I'd like to know. How much of this is scheme? Like we talk about, well, Joe Woods is out and Jim Schwartz is in. That and I do think, huge upgrade, no disrespect to Joe Woods, but Schwartz has been around a while, no nonsense type of guy. But how much of that miscommunication was just from a scheme standpoint, and how much was just guys, kind of doing their own thing and nobody on the same page?
I see you and I raise you a different scenario. I think they didn't understand it and they never cared to understand it. And they were just content with, we don't get what's going on. These blown coverages are going to continue to happen. People are going to be in the wrong places. And instead of, okay, how do we fix this? It's just that, well, this is Joe Woods' fault. We don't get it. This is his fault. So
he did, from what I heard, again, not being in the locker room, he did throw a lot at them early on.
Yeah.
Right? So, but then we had heard, certain things about, well, you know what, he's kind of scaled that back. He's going to allow them to, kind of get used to things and then they'll start adding more stuff. But that never really happened.
No.
And I don't know. It's not that, because I feel good about this roster. If you just look at talent, like you said, sure, the defensive line, it kind of bit them in the ass a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something that last year they didn't really address it. You thought younger guys were gonna step up, and they didn't. And I'm not just talking about Perrion Winfrey. Jordan Elliott's. He's Tommy Togia. I mean, but again, is that scheme, or is that these guys aren't as good as we thought they were? Maybe a combination of both.
I think so.
Maybe a combination of both. 216-626-7901. Again, 216-626-7901. The Chico Borman Show here. The debut show on the big play. Did I just see food?
Yeah, I think we literally had a delivery person walk into the studio with some Uber Eats. So
you can just walk in the studio? Like, that's, wow.
I mean, we probably should have locked it, but
Well, if they have food though, we can make it.
Yeah.
Were you guys just planning on eating in front of me then?
I guess. I don't know what the plan
That's
was.
really nice. I appreciate it. Welcome aboard. We're just gonna mow down on these sub sandwiches.
Well, I think what had happened was the Uber Eats delivery was placed hours ago. But with it being St. Patrick's Day, the traffic downtown, all the excitement of the Chico show, people wanting to stay in their houses, stream it, just get something delivered.
Thank you,
there's a lot of just traffic on the road and what have you. So I think our order got dropped probably about 5 times before it actually decided to show up.
Okay, you mentioned St. Patrick's Day, and it is St. Patrick's Day, obviously. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Is it as big a deal as it was, say, even like 5? I'm not. This isn't me being old man screaming, because, I mean, it used to be. Now I worked in Erie, Pennsylvania for a while. In Erie, it was like, I mean, everybody took it off. I would always joke that, like, and it wasn't really a joke. You'd watch the 6 a.m. news, and you'd see a reporter at Sullivan's Bar, big Irish hangout and whatever, just big hangout in general, but Irish, and the stand-up would be in front of some dude at the bar who at the time, he's smiling, he's excited. They'd come back for the noon news, and this dude's puking on himself. I mean, it started from, like, very beginning, as soon as before the sun came up, all day, all night. And Cleveland's kind of used to be the same way too, but is it as big? Did the pandemic kind of?
I wonder if it's lost its luster a little. I think what's big now, especially with the youth and the colleges and all the nearby colleges. I mean, we have Cleveland State, we have Kent is just an hour away. Akron is about the same. Now it's big into and I don't know if you've ever heard this term, Chico, is the fake Patty's Day, where you do it the weekend before and kind of just you get it all out that weekend before. But you would think with today being a Friday, I mean, the weather was beautiful yesterday. I would be rearranging my plans to, kind of free things up to hang out on this.
So listen to this. It's funny you said that, because I ran into somebody, they live in Chicago currently. From here. They live in Chicago, and they said to me, like, because I said, well, are you going to be back in town, next weekend for St. Patrick's Day? They're like, no, actually, we're missing it. It's St. Patrick's Day is this weekend. I'm like, this isn't March. Is it still March? Like, I got to, ask him. He's like, no, you're right. It's just in Chicago. That's what they do. So is this becoming a trend now across the country?
Yeah, I think, I mean, at least like in my college days, you get it out that weekend ahead, especially, if it falls on a Wednesday and it's like, well, people got work, people in college have class, you have your after class jobs or whatever. So yeah, people would just jump right into it. That Friday, that Saturday would be like fake Patty's Day is kind of what they called it. Yeah, that's kind of when you take your celebration, wear your green, dye the beer, do the whole thing.
Which ironically coincides with fake stomach ache day, which centers around March Madness. Like, that was the best.
Yeah.
Like, being able to take off school, and could only do it if grades were okay. I don't want to. Kids, stay in school and study and whatever the hell else you need to do. But being able to, like, take a day off, getting ready for March Madness was always just,
It was the best.
Oh, and even that. And I'm not saying it for me. It's not. Of course, it's not as fun for me anymore because I'm old now. I'm just saying for youngsters like yourself, Nick.
Yeah.
And the young buck that you are, is it still a big? I mean, people would just take off work or take off school and they'd go somewhere. Is that still going on?
I think we'll talk Monday. We'll reconvene Monday. Obviously, I'm in here with you right now, doing the show. Right after this, I'm going to meet up with a couple of my buddies, do a little recon, and we'll kind of reconvene on Monday, what the scene is like after the show. But no, I mean, I live downtown, and the vibe this morning was quiet. I mean, it was really quiet. I took my puppy out. Like, everything was just a normal Friday, dude. Like, it was not like, and I, grew up in an Irish Italian household. So I, had many St. Patrick's Days down here with my parents at the parade and stuff, and went to Catholic grade school. So we'd be off anyway for the parade. And yeah, it used to be, the streets would be lined at 7, 8 in the morning. And there wasn't much of that down here.
What kind of puppy you have?
I have a little puppy Pekingese. So he is a little guy.
Are you pandering to the ladies with that? Because
It's really my girlfriend's dog.
but
we live
okay,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, we live.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
All
so
right. Forget
one of those things. Yeah, he's like already been he's a family pet now. It's not just my dog, but I do give the fair warning. He does pander to the late. Like I take him out.
Yeah.
If there's ladies out and they see me with a little fluffy ball, that could barely walk by himself, people want to take some pictures with it. And
Oh, I thought you
stuff.
said bald. You said little ball.
Little ball, yeah.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's just like a little fluff ball.
Puppies are, yeah.
They're fun. They're a lot of work. He's got a stomach ache. I think I've probably slept like 8 hours this whole week combined.
He's faking. It's March Madness and St. Patrick's Day.
He's trying to get off work.
No dummy. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, we got some games going on right now, and with that. So Michigan State currently leading USC by a score of 53-47. Furman yesterday, I did not know this, Nick. And for you folks out there, if you had a chance to watch, we had the Furman game on here in the studios and across the offices, but we didn't have the volume up. And this is not my opportunity to mention that I did pick Furman in the bracket because it really doesn't mean anything, but I did. But did you know there's a young man on Furman's basketball team who is from Northeast Ohio?
I did not.
He is, I believe he's from Bothwell.
Okay.
We gotta Google him. But I was talking to somebody today, a therapist. Shout out to Ryan. I can say his name over at NovaCare. Had some work done on my elbow. Again, getting old. And he was like, "Oh, what'd you think of Furman's upset?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was pretty. That was pretty impressive." And he's like, "Well, there's a local flavor to that." And I said, "No. Is it Bothwell? Am I saying it?
Mike Bothwell.
Yeah. What high school did he go to?
He's from Cleveland Heights, and he went to Cornerstone Christian Academy.
Okay, yeah, because they say like on the broadcast when they'll say, "Oh, that's Mike Bothwell," whatever. But he was a 2,000-point scorer in high school, and he just recently got 2,000 points with Furman. That's a hell of an accomplishment. And I don't care, is it Power 5? Is it, what? That's just, I don't care if it's D3. If you're a 2,000, not 1,000 is a milestone. 2,000 points, both in high school and in college, is pretty damn impressive. Very impressive, actually. So Furman is going to move on. Who's Furman taking on in the second round? They've got San Diego State. Is that right? Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah,
Kent
tomorrow
State,
at noon.
Kent State tonight. Now you said you're going out, Nick. What you got to make sure you don't be getting too crazy because you got to be in front of the. What time is the?
I got some bets to watch on Kent State too, Chico. I gotta
Typical.
Oh yeah. You see that promo code Big Play up there, but yeah, I got some bets to watch tonight for sure. And it's the late game. I think it is literally like one, if not the last game of the first round.
9:55. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to wear. Last year, Coach Senderoff sent the Scott Van Pelt of ESPN was talking to Brian Windhorst, of course, Kent State alum and great NBA reporter and writer. He was on talking to Scott Van Pelt, and Van Pelt apparently referred to Kent State as, I like them. They're the ones with the big ass lightning bolts. So the shirts came out, and I saw one of these shirts, and I'm like, I got to get a hold of one of these. Just so happened we had Rob Senderoff on the show. And he sent me one, and of course I forgot to wear it today. I kind of feel guilty.
Is that an omen? I don't know if it is. That you forgot to wear your Kent shirt. What's that mean for the Kent 4.5 point spread?
Maybe
does that mean we hammer it, or does that mean we kind of stay away from it?
Maybe what it is I'm going to get out of this by saying that I know they're going to advance. So when they get in the Sweet 16, that's when I'll be donning the "They've got big ass lightning bolts" T-shirt. It is a really, really nice T-shirt. But March Madness going on. Duke, I wanted to talk about this too because Duke obviously won. Coach K is no longer there. John Shire is the head coach. Somebody I was talking to last night said, "Are you a Duke lover or a Duke hater?" It's Duke in North Carolina, Ohio State, Michigan, Yankees, Lakers, whatever. It's either usually with those squads, not always, but usually with those squads, it's either you love them or you absolutely hate them. And my buddy said to me, "Do you find yourself rooting? Would you root for Duke now because Coach K is gone?" I'm like, well, I kind of liked Coach K and I liked Duke. I wasn't, now I'm kind of one of those in the middle type fans with that stuff. But as far as like, are there people out there that didn't like Mike Krzyzewski enough that now that he's gone, they're rooting more for Duke? Like I was surprised to hear him say that. He's like, "Oh, I talked to quite a few people that said that." I'm like, what? I mean, he won a lot.
Yeah.
And I think what drives people nuts the most about guys like a Mike Krzyzewski, first of all, the guy never says that, "Oh, we do it the right way." But people assume that they do or they want to be portrayed that way. And so as soon as you do that and you win, the immediate thought is, well, there's something going on. And I got news for it. Not going to be news for you is, let's face it, all schools out there to some degree got something going on to get these talented guys in there. It's a fact. But I don't know. Like, what is the hate? What was the hate with Duke? Is
it the same thing as, like, especially here locally? I mean, people with the Patriots for the last 10, 20 years of Belichick and Brady, like the Belichick and Brady never harmed the Browns. Same with Duke, never harmed directly Ohio State's chances in college basketball or any local team's chances. I think it's just people get sick of the repetition and, Duke is good again. Oh, here's Duke in another championship game. Here's Duke in another Final Four. So I think that maybe is the hate, and maybe it's not even true hate. It's just sick of seeing them all the time. It's kind of how I perceive it because, there's no reason for me to hate Duke. None of my allegiances project any hatred towards Duke or Coach K or anything that has to do with them. I mean, they're a storied as just a basketball fan. Look at how many NBA stars came from Duke. I mean, there's nothing to not like there.
Well, okay, you hit on something there. And 216-626-7901 here on the Chico Borman Show here on Big Play. I think that's really what he meant to say. Like, there's a fine line between saying I can't stand like this program or this team, but I can't stand them because of the coach. Like the conversation and the way it was framed for me was, is there a team or a program that you just can't stand, and it's all because you just don't like the coach? And I was thinking about that, not just college basketball, just anywhere. I remember I didn't like Bielema at Wisconsin, not because he wasn't a good coach, and he still isn't a good coach. I think he is, but there's just something about him that he took some shots and whatever. But I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. But to that extent,
no.
I can't see someone saying, "You know what? I've hated Duke, but now that Coach K is gone, I'm gonna root for these guys." Or, North Carolina or Ohio State, Michigan. And again, a lot of times these programs are, you either love them or you hate them. There's no, I can go either way. There's none of that. All right, I'll tell you what. We're gonna step aside for a moment, and coming up at the top of the hour, that's for Dave. Coming up at 2, we're gonna visit with my buddy Eric Edholm. He is with NFL.com, really heavy into the NFL draft, really heavy into obviously what's going on with free agency. We'll talk to him about the Browns acquisitions. Also talk to him this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Speaking of guys that are, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback, but I mean, just shut up. He is so talented, but I don't know. the drama stuff has got to go. We're going to talk more about that with him as well as I try to get this. See, this thing right here. You guys see this? It's a mouse, right? This is one of those fancy mice or mouses, whatever it is. It's not allowing me to do my thing. All right, we're gonna watch this. Here we go. Do we have it?
Looks like you're stuck on the bottom there, on the bottom dock bar.
I mean, what the hell is this all about? I got to hit the be right back thing. See if you can do it. If he can, then we will be back. If not, then I don't have a choice. Alrighty, we are back. How about that? I felt like Kramer there when he's the Merv Griffin episode. We're back. We are back here on the Chico Borman Show. Big play, and coming up in just a bit, Eric Edholm. This is, Nick, I'm a guy that pretty much tells it like it is, and I'm not afraid to make fun of myself. I'm not comfy in my surroundings just yet.
You'll get there. It's a lot. So give people a little peek behind the curtain. The big play shows are all custom. We custom built everything that you see on the screen from Chico to the overlays. It's all custom. And like Chico said, because some of his anxieties over there, I feel like, is that he's going to just knock himself right off the air. It looks intimidating. I know it looks like you're flying an airplane. Once you really settle in and realize that, okay, it's really only 4 or 5 buttons that I have to hit, I feel like you're going to be a little bit more in your element as these shows continue on. But so far, so good, man. You're crushing.
You know who's laughing about this right now, just having a really, really good time? Eric Edholm. Yeah, because we're about the same age. He absolutely knows that I am. Did I get that right? I think I did. And then is the split screen? I'm going to hit that. Is that right?
Hit it.
Hang on here, Eric.
I think we need to get you a traditional mouse.
Yeah, you guys got these fancy stuff in here. Fancy schmancy. Just give me the old school stuff. Split. Right? Did I not click on him? Hey! There's my guy.
Are you struggling with your technology, Chico? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am. You've done podcasts.
Yeah.
Do you handle the have you gotten?
Oh God, no. Handle. No.
You just
I let others handle things that are beyond my technical proficiency, which is, out above opening email is asking a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm just impressed that you have. First of all, congrats on everything. This is exciting. I'm just happy that you have a professional looking set. You've got a producer who seems to know what they're doing.
You spoke too quickly because now you're just a pink screen.
Oh, okay.
It
looks good on my end for what that's worth.
Looks good on you though.
Yeah, right. Well,
Eric Edholm, NFL.com, joining us. There's his nice mug. Does a great job. First time I met Eric, I said this a little while ago. we go back to like early 2000s when I was
About
working.
20 years.
Yeah. I mean, 22 years. It was early 2000s. I remember specifically the year the Browns drafted Braylon Edwards. And yeah, and you were like, yeah, I think that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Braylon Edwards is there. So yeah, it goes back that far as he and I, one of the great guys in the business, and obviously joining us here on the Chico Borman Show. Let me start with this, okay? Before we get into kind of what's going on throughout the NFL and other free agency, right here in Cleveland, I went on a little rant a little while ago, and I like some of the acquisitions. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm drooling over Obo or Dalvin Tomlinson or Juan Thornhill I think they're good acquisitions. But as I look at the Browns and certainly followed the Browns last season, you're going to have to forgive me if the idea of, wow, I like that guy, that's a good fit, he's a very talented guy, because it just seems like this. I hate to use this term, but it seems like this is a fractured locker room. They just weren't together. This wasn't a team that would play together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part of player personnel that I think is probably the most difficult, the most understood, the toughest to come up with a system for too. I mean, really, you're throwing a bunch of different personalities together. You know, and the Browns obviously changed a lot of names, a lot of faces. The Deshaun Watson deal was obviously gonna change the dynamic of the locker room in a massive way, no matter what, good, bad, or otherwise. So, you know, you're hoping and praying that it all kind of works out. You got enough tough guys, you got enough good guys, you got enough, middle ground guys, whatever that means, and I, when you talk to GMs and decision makers and former GMs and people who, sat in that chair and were kind of the last line of defense, if you will, the closest to the red button on decisions, they would say that, a lot of it is guesswork. You're having to lean on your coaches who are the tough love guys, who are the good teachers, and all that stuff comes together. So yeah, I mean, it's talent. Number one, depth, certainly, right? Backing up your best investments, patching holes in the places where you're weaker, but it's also making the whole thing work. We've seen talented teams get thrown together. 2010 Eagles were a great example. Look, the roster looked amazing. They were a bad football team. It happens. So yeah, I'm sure that's at least part of what went on in Cleveland last year.
What do you make of the Jim Schwartz hire on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I've known Jim about as long as I've known you, and I can't say that we're best buddies or that we hang out or anything like that, but he was one of the coaches that would answer my calls back in the day as he was with the Titans and stuff, and so I've seen his defensive system work. What typically has happened, and I again I say this as somebody who likes Jim, but there's often early success and then things kind of plateau a little bit. I mean, that's always sort of been the issue, is that year 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever that next sort of phase is after they've had some success, people seem to catch up on it a little bit. Not a lot of people run the kind of wide nine stuff that he ran and that Jim Johnson and other people ran back in the day. It's not quite as popular anymore. It doesn't mean it can't work. And obviously helping the defensive line out, I think, will be a big thing. But yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy. He's a confident guy. He's been a head coach before. He's run different types of systems before, but he always seems to sprinkle in that basically that 4-man rush that can attack you and sometimes be vulnerable to the run, depending on who you have a linebacker. And that may be of interest to Browns fans, given that, it's not exactly a position of strength, I would say, at this point.
We're talking to Eric Edholm. He's with NFL.com and obviously with Around the NFL and heavy into the draft. And Eric, as you know, obviously the Browns, not only did they pay a ton of green stuff for Deshaun Watson, but they paid in a lot of draft capital as well. So no first-round picks. Do you feel like Deshaun Watson is, with a full preseason under his belt and a full offseason under his belt, all of that stuff, is this a guy that can get back to, 3 years ago when he was one of the best QBs in the league?
His last year in Houston, when the Texans, I think, were a 4-12 team, if I recall, just off the top of my head, he made the Pro Bowl, and this wasn't like a legacy pick. You know what I mean? This wasn't just like, oh, we know his name, we're going to elect. He deserved to go. He was the one good thing on that team, and it felt like, boy, if he had any help around him, he was performing these near weekly miracles and coming up just short in a lot of close losses, if I recall, from that year. And at the time, I just thought, this is prior to any of the massage stuff or whatever. Wow, help this guy out. It's a little, different degree, but I mean, I hear people in Chicago talking about Justin Fields. Of course, I know that people there also are keeping track of Fields from Ohio State days, but yeah, I mean, it was like to an even greater degree for a more established player. Then obviously everything changed, and I can't help but think, and I don't know, tell me am I sort of barking up the wrong tree, but I mean, I can't help but think that he walks into this locker room where, you're obviously going to be the center of attention because of the position and the money you make, but all the stuff that came with the charges and the allegations against him, I don't know. I mean, he probably had to win people over there. It was probably awkward. I don't know that he was able to sort of plant his flag a little bit as a respected player. I'm sure people for the most part said the right things when asked about him, but it's a tough thing to do when everything is kind of cloaked over you and the media is against you. A lot of fans weren't excited about the trade. He had to sit for 11 weeks and just sort of watch this gradual buildup of, well, Deshaun's going to come in and he's going to be better than Jacoby, and this is going to work out. Everything's fine. Well, he wasn't, and so the football part of it, look, his talent didn't just evaporate. He could play. It's got to be the mental portion of it. And again, people who were upset by the massage thing, I totally get it. I mean, we're talking football now because those cases have been settled, and this is the next phase of his career, and sometimes good playing can help kind of, I don't want to say cleanse some of that stuff, but for the public perception, it matters.
One of the things, Nick, I want you to chime in on this because one of the things that I heard a lot of last year on a positive note about Deshaun Watson, from a teammate standpoint, those guys, I mean, how sometimes you can kind of smell fake, and then it seemed like genuine, man, we love playing with this guy. And around the league, guys love playing with him, which I think is probably a good thing. Obviously, it's a great thing. But, I mean, when we talk about leadership and all of that stuff, he seems to be a guy that guys like to be around.
Absolutely. And I think, Chico, that's a reason why we haven't seen some of these big receivers move yet. Maybe a D-Hop, a Brandon Cooks trade. I know those two guys have both somewhat publicly stated that they wouldn't mind being reunited with the Deshaun Watson in a trade.
All right, we're talking to Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Let's move away from the Browns here for a moment. We'll kind of stick with the Browns because I want to talk about staying in the division. Lamar Jackson. We know that I'm guessing Steve. I shouldn't say I know. I'm guessing Stephen Bisciotti won't be sending Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam Christmas cards and out on the yacht together, things of that sort. Jimmy Haslam probably didn't make many friends with the huge contract and kind of setting the bar, and now we're seeing it affect other teams. We're certainly seeing it affect the Baltimore Ravens and what Lamar Jackson is asking for. How does this thing play out, Eric? In your mind, is he as good as gone? I mean, are the Ravens just not gonna give him what he's looking for? And if so, where could he possibly end up?
I think the most likely scenario is that he still ends up in Baltimore playing on the franchise tag. Now he could decide to hold out or not report, or he has options, and he could face the fines that would come with that and everything, and really dig his heels in and say, no, I'm done, I've moved on. It certainly feels like the tension has grown since around the Senior Bowl or so, talking to some people around there and just casually bringing up the situation. And, everyone knew they were going to have to dig their heels in a little bit on both sides, and that there was probably going to be some tough days, either in, the actual negotiations between Eric DeCosta and the Ravens and Lamar, because it's really him. And his mother is part of the process from what I understand, but that's it, and I don't know that anyone thought it would get this sort of strained, but these things have a way of curing themselves over time. Not always, but sometimes. And in this case, I think the most likely scenario, and granted, we're less than 48 hours into the window where Lamar can actually talk to other teams and explore contract possibilities and all that. So far, it's been crickets that we know of, right? The fact that he doesn't have an agent means that there aren't going to be leaks. He hasn't, other than throwing that little bone out on the little breadcrumbs on Twitter, the 3 years, 133 million guarantee that he turned down. But we're just nibbling at scraps of information at this point. So, it's hard to really know exactly where Lamar's head at. He seems a little frustrated, but it's hard to, really say what his perspective is. And the Ravens have done a pretty good job of making it seem like we're just going to go through the process. But here's one scenario that could play out. There could be a team lying in the weeds. I don't think it's the Commanders because they've now signed a veteran quarterback and they have Sam Howell. They could certainly draft somebody else. It doesn't feel like they're going in on Lamar, but there might be another team out there that we're not thinking about who is quietly observing this and knowing that there aren't going to be leaks. Maybe they can operate with some stealth here. And I believe the deadline is like a week before the draft for another team to make a franchise offer. If you did it last minute, you'd really kind of put the Ravens in a bind. You'd really put them in a situation where they'd have to say, are we prepared to do this as we get into the final stages, less than a week to go before the draft? And that's possible. Do I think it's coming? Is that a likely scenario? No, I wouldn't say that. So, if they can get Lamar to buy into the idea of, hey, you play 1 year, 35 whatever million, I think it is for the non-exclusive, they might just end up having to go through this whole song and dance again next year.
Speaking of not being able to get in someone's head and know what they're thinking, Aaron Rodgers, the guy's extremely talented. He's also very, very smart. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, and I think he knows what he's doing. I think he enjoys toying with people, including those in the media, as well as those in the Packers front office. Pretty much everybody. I feel like if you're Green Bay right now, and if you're not going to get the offer that you want in return as far as draft capital or whatever, why would you? I mean, yeah, okay, I know that if you hang on to him, well, that's not going to be good for the organization. But right now, would Green Bay necessarily be in a hurry to trade away Aaron Rodgers?
There's got to be another team that steps up. And, outside of the Las Vegas Raiders, I haven't seen another report of a team actually expressing interest. Supposedly, Rodgers was one of the internal candidates they discussed at length, meaning the Raiders, before shifting and going to Jimmy Garoppolo, somebody who Josh McDaniels is very familiar with. So, excuse me. Other than that, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know of another team that's either been reported or said in any kind of public way, yeah, of course we look at Aaron Rodgers. So who is it? I don't know. I mean, this Jets Packers thing feels like an arranged marriage where both sides are getting cold feet a little bit, and they don't have any other options. It's not like, somebody else asked me to marry him. I might do that instead. I got to put them side by each and figure out what the best plan is. I mean, if you had multiple offers, we wouldn't have this ongoing drama. We would have question of where he's going to end up. It certainly feels like the Jets are the one place that has decided, yes, if we can get this thing done at a reasonable cost to us, both in terms of how much money Green Bay is willing to pay and in terms of the compensation, what they're willing to, I just think they're the one team that's gotten that far. And Jets fans, obviously Rodgers is sitting back, kind of stoking the flames a little bit, saying, yes, I want to play with the Jets. That was a big moment because now Jets fans say, aha, okay, the guy who doesn't ever say anything, who talks in riddles, and has all these smoke screens going on around him. He spends 4 days in a dark hole. We actually have a pretty clear-cut answer from him. And here we go. When do I get my season tickets, right? And for a team that hasn't had a whole lot to kind of hang its hat on for a while, that can be a dangerous game if you don't deliver on it. What if they say, you know what, we went down the road with the Packers, they're asking for too much. They're not willing to pay his salary. Sorry, guys. But can we interest you in a Ryan Tannehill trade? You know what I mean? It's like, what's the alternative? What do you have behind door number 2? If you've got a backup plan and there's somebody out there that I'm not thinking about, Carson Wentz, let's see it, because this game of poker is going to end at some point, and so they're going to have to flip those cards over and figure out who's actually holding and who isn't. So,
Eric, what I'm curious about in this whole situation? So the report came out that Aaron Rodgers had said, whatever, a demand list, which I thought was a bit far-fetched. He obviously said, no, did they ask me about some players? Yes. And he spoke glowingly about some of his former teammates. So Diana Rossini, I think, broke it, and then Schefter, and then Aaron Rodgers' response to them was lose my number, which, Rodgers can be that way with the media. You know that.
I told you that once, by the way. You don't even remember. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Lose my number. And I said, no way, no how.
Can't, no way.
Especially now that I'm Henrik and Eloise's godfather. I can't.
That's
obviously.
right.
I got to keep tabs on him. But I wonder now, where did that leak come? I mean, Diana Rossini had to get it from somebody. And so it obviously wasn't the Packers. It obviously wasn't Aaron Rodgers, because he's not going to come out and say, oh, yeah, hey, I've got these demands or a wish list. What I'm wondering is, did the Jets kind of ruin it for themselves? Like, would Aaron Rodgers be saying to himself, wait a minute, the only people who knew anything about the conversations I had with the Jets are the Jets. So I wonder if maybe that could kind of foil those plans.
I got to give you credit, man, because I've been talking about this on at least a dozen radio shows, maybe a couple podcasts too. I hadn't thought about that specific element of it. And Rodgers seemed to be a little annoyed by the situation, as if like, okay, well, my new team or potential new team is already kind of letting it out there about, and maybe they did it as an annoyance. I will say this, though, for hardworking reporters like Diana and Adam and people who are constantly texting, calling, digging for information, and hats off to them for it. When
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. I thought maybe we were going to break. I thought we were.
I mean, these buttons.
Like the award shows, like they start playing the music and you're done, man. I didn't know.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, come on.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just the idea that, when you don't have anything, when there is no information leak, you start asking as many questions as you possibly can. Any little nugget of information that somebody else doesn't have. And this may have come up as like the sixth thing Diana asked, whether it was the Jets or an agent or somebody else. So we can't assume that the Jets said, oh God, Aaron's already, making demands and, holding this thing up. And, Aaron made a good point the other day on the McAfee show. He said, I have nothing to do with the compensation. I don't talk about salary and how that's going to be changed. I'm just sitting back. So, granted, maybe he's making cover for himself, but he's right. He wouldn't be doing those things. So I don't know. I don't know exactly from whence it came, and I don't know whether it ends up being like the spoke that falls out and the whole ship collapses. But it has become a little bit of a kind of a touch point there.
All right, last thing for you, buddy. We appreciate your time as always. So you're in Chicago, and the Bears make the trade with Carolina, and obviously Carolina's gonna go after their quarterback. And there's talk: is it C.J. Stroud? Is it Bryce Young? Is it somebody else? Do you think, because we saw what happened in San Francisco, and they went with Trey Lance, but then there was talk about Mac Jones. Do you feel when a trade like that happens, and I guess now specifically with Carolina, do they absolutely positively have their guy, or is this we want to get the number one pick and then we'll decide? Or do you think they've already made that decision?
I don't think the latter is insane, right? If you go through the early part of the process and say, you know what, we've got these two quarterbacks right now graded almost even, our QB coach and our college scouting director like quarterback A, our GM and our offensive coordinator like plan B, right? We've got to split these hairs somewhat. it makes sense, right? You get up to number one. You want to make sure you get at least one of them. You may not have an idea exactly where they go. The cost of doing business might have been a little lower doing the deal earlier, right? It gives you clarity before free agency. Okay, now we know we're going to get the quarterback one way or another. That one's been crossed off. We don't have to play footsie with Baker Mayfield or whoever, so that there is a value in doing that. Now, if they don't have at least one guy they like right now, 40 some odd days before the draft or whatever, then I think they're playing a little fast and loose with this thing, because there's no guarantee that they'll get somebody else to come up. And, oh, by the way, you got to make a pick if you don't. So I think they do. Here's what I've heard, and I use this in quotes because it's come from, not direct sources. It's come from people in the industry who, have a good feel of what's going on. But I think Stroud is somebody they like and would feel very, very comfortable taking. That's who I initially put out on Twitter. I said, if I had to guess right now, it's probably CJ. I don't think Bryce is the guy. But at the same time, I think the owner is sort of fascinated by Bryce Young because, he was he's from Alabama, the pedigree, Nick Saban, was in a championship game. I don't know, these other elements. He was at all the mock drafts had him number one. That could be the case. That the owner could look at it from that perspective. I think Frank Reich is going to look for what he's always looked for: bigger frame, more pocket-oriented quarterbacks. But I think there is some fascination with Anthony Richardson in the building. I will say that. I think there's at least, a handful of people who have some say in the decision who are saying, in 5 years, this kid may be something that we can't find anywhere. So I think he's more likely the possibility if they move down. I don't think Richardson goes at 1. Again, this is me guessing, but if I had to guess, I would rank them kind of Stroud, Richardson, Young third. If I had to put I don't think Will Levis is an option for him, but yeah, so that's just how I'd guess at this point.
Well, if you are interested in the draft, he is absolutely a must follow on Twitter. He's Eric Edholm. Follow him at Eric_Edholm. Buddy, I appreciate it. The debut show, there was no other choice.
I love it.
Even though you said lose your number, there was no other choice, and we really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So we'll do it again soon, pal.
You have my email. You don't need my number, But yes, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. I'm so happy for you, man. Everything looks great. Can't wait to see how this all turns out. Have me back on anytime you want.
Okay, thank you, bud. Now, what he's not going to tell you is, all right, Nick.
He's good.
He's good.
Oh, you're trying to get your shot back?
Yeah, no, I was trying. No, it's all right. It's all right. There we go. That one. I thought I had to get rid of him, like dump him. That's all right. It's okay. We're figuring this out. Actually, I'm not. How did that see? That's exactly what I feared the most. Was that I was going to be in the middle of talking and hit something, and
Yeah, but it was like 30 seconds, or not even 30 seconds. It was like 3 seconds. It was a good recovery.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, even if it's not true.
It is. It's true.
Anyway, good stuff talking to Eric Edholm. Yeah, that's funny. The last question I asked him there, and we want to hear from you too. 216-626-7901. The debut of the Chico Borman Show here on Big Play. If you're going to make that trade in your Carolina, and I think the only reason we're even having this discussion is because we wondered if San Francisco, for a while it was, oh, hey, this is what you should do. They've got everybody on edge. But there was a lot of talk about it could be Mac Jones. And, who knows? Maybe from day one they knew it was Trey Lance. But there seemed to be enough reports out there that, well, we're not quite sure. We just know that we're going to jump up and we're going to get our guy. We may not know who that guy is right now. I agree with Eric, though. I feel like Carolina absolutely positively has their guy. Who that is, I have no idea. C.J. Stroud, that would make sense. Bryce Young, now you're starting to hear, is he too small? He can, I tell you, he can make every throw. He's incredibly athletic. He's got a cannon for an arm, actually. Incredibly athletic. And I know what we love to do in these situations is say, well, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young is also a student of the game from everything I've heard and everything I've read, and take that for what it's worth. I don't know, but I would think C.J. Stroud is the guy right now with the most upside, and I think there's a lot of concern, and maybe some of that is I shouldn't say, it's bad to do that as far as Kyler Murray, but you look at that size, you look at the injury history. That's got to be something that these guys are weighing when it comes to Bryce. So we shall see. All right, listen, we're going to step aside. We're going to continue here with the Chico Borman Show. Get into a little baseball. That's right, I said baseball. And if you saw a significant injury recently to a elite closer, you probably had the same thought that I did. We'll explain when we come back right here on the Chico Borman Show. On Big Play. Good to have you. Didn't I get that? There we go. There we go. There's that bald dome, Nick. We got about a half hour or so left in the show, and good stuff there with Eric at home. Talk a little NFL. I do want to talk some baseball. Baseball is right around the corner. Obviously, an incredible season last year for our Guardians. No reason to think that this year, and I do think Chicago, with a new manager, with some health, is still a very good team. But I mean, when you think about what the Guardians looked like last year on opening day and what they look like now on opening day, and look, a lot of unknowns, right? There was, Stephen Kwan wasn't penciled into the lineup yet. It was still, Oscar Mercado and Bobby Bradley. And so, these guys not only got their chance, but they really, Oscar Gonzalez, these guys really just got their chance and they ran with it. And obviously, you're talking about, 17 guys made their major league debut last year. That's insane. Not that 17 guys made their major league debut, but they did that. The Guardians did that, had that happen, and on their watch won 90-plus games. It speaks to a lot of things. Obviously, talent, the organization's ability to not only draft but develop the talent. I think it also speaks to, I'm biased, I know. There's no other manager I'd rather have in the game of baseball right now than Terry Francona. No way. He is something like that happens last year when you're constantly trying. And let's face it, he's had to kind of operate in this manner when it comes to, the Guardians and, you're not going to have some guy that you're going to have in left field, a star that you're going to pencil in the lineup for 10 years straight. It's just not going to happen that way. So in trying to figure out the young guys and getting them playing time and juggle that playing time, and not only juggle it so you can still win games, because that is still the number one priority, but also giving the front office, giving Chris Antonetti and company an opportunity to figure out, okay, who's a guy that we want to pay some money to, who's a guy that we want to move on from. So last year was just, it was incredible how that whole thing played out, and because of that, and we should all feel this way, there's a lot of promise and high expectations for the Guardians this season. So I'm watching the World Baseball Classic the other day, and Edwin Diaz of the New York Mets in the celebration, tore the patellar tendon in his knee and is out for the season. Now, Stephen Cohen hasn't been shy about spending money, okay? Stephen Cohen has dropped, and more power to him, but he hasn't been shy about spending money, and the Mets obviously going to be a team to be reckoned with. They still are. But do you know, like, you lose a closer, and I mean, you could say just a good closer, but an elite closer, as Edwin Diaz is or was. We'll see how he comes back from this, but it won't be this year. That changes everything on a baseball team. I mean, that's how important. And look, I'm not saying like, well, just the World Baseball, because I've enjoyed the World Baseball Classic. I haven't been able to watch a ton of it, but what I have seen, I've really enjoyed it. First of all, it's baseball. I love baseball, but I think it's been very entertaining. But my God, like, put yourself, what if that's Emmanuel Clase? Now, in the case of the Mets, you know, you say, well, Stephen Cohen's he's got all the money. Well, you're this close to the season. Somebody might step into the role, but I think it's safe to say Edwin Diaz goes down for the year, and that is a monumental blow. It just made me think, like, just, okay, get these guys in bubble wrap, get them to Seattle, and let's go. And you can get injured. It's part of the game. I get it. You can get injured, walking your dog, for crying out loud. You can get, but it just really drove that point home for me. Seeing Edwin Diaz out for the year, like because Emmanuel Clase is every bit as elite in my mind as Edwin Diaz is. So seeing him go down and seeing that for an entire year, I mean, let's just get to, what is it, March 30th? They start in Seattle. Let's just get to March 30th. Let's just get to Seattle. That kind of freaked me out a little bit. It really freaked me
Understandably.
out a little bit. Yeah, I just Emmanuel Clase, and again, you have to understand the dynamic of a bullpen. I mean, any bullpen, whether you're a high market team or a large market team, and you spend a ton of money, or you're frugal and you don't spend any. If you have a closer and a closer of that ilk, man, to have him go down for the season, just it completely changes the entire scope.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this. Here's a good way that I just compartmentalize it in my head. I think of the Guardians bullpen as a whole. It's good. I would say top 10, definitely top half of the major league.
Yep.
Think about it without Emmanuel Clase. Significantly less of then you're probably looking at bottom half of the major league. That's how much he means, and you could probably say the same for the Mets. I'm not going to pretend like I know every arm in their pen, but probably pretty similar.
Well, and the thing is, it has a domino effect. Like, all of a sudden now your setup guy, and now it's, as we know, there's so many roles now. You have your left hand, it's right hand, but now all of a sudden guys that aren't prepared, because not every guy can just walk out there and be a closer. Right. I mean, I think we've seen that. I used to laugh at people that couldn't stand Cody Allen. Like, people here in Cleveland, so I think they expected every single closer to be Mariano Rivera. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Cody Allen he's the saves leader. He's the franchise saves leader. Did he have a few hiccups? Did he have some, but that's just the nature of that position. You're coming out with runners in scoring position. You're coming out in a tight ball game. It's on you to get them out. Yeah, those types of things are going to happen. But what just scares me, and it just kind of reiterated and really drove the point home, obviously now as you get ready for the season, you don't want to lose them at any point. But I think for this Guardians team, you're not going to just go out. Hell, Stephen Cohen's going to have a problem going out and just, okay, here's my checkbook. Go out and get a great closer. They're hard to find. So, I look at that, and when I look at this Guardians team and I look at all the reasons for optimism, and there's plenty, boy, you look at Emmanuel Clase and you say he is absolutely, positively vital. There are, a lot of keys to the season. We can talk about Oscar Gonzalez needing to maintain or even take that next step, and Josh Bell to give, Hosey the protection in the batting order, and the young guys, Andres Jimenez and Steven Kwan, continue to get better. All of that, the rotate. But ultimately, like I said, you can do all of those things. You can check every one of those boxes. But if you lose a portion of your bullpen, God forbid, your elite closer, you're in trouble. And I'll be very curious to see how the Mets do right out of the gate.
Hey, Chico, let's switch gears for a second here because we've got Xavier. We're watching March Madness here. You know we're multitasking at the Chico Borman Show.
And we love that. Yes,
so Xavier was down to, who is this, Kennesaw State? Is that how you say it?
Of course it's Kennesaw State.
Of course it is.
Kennesaw State.
14.
Powerhouse. Blue
14. Xavier was down 10 with 8 minutes to go. They are on like an 11-0 run.
Who do you have? Did you?
So I live bet Xavier to win. Down 10. We're looking pretty right now. We'll see what happens.
What was he?
But a lot of people on Twitter, I just put it out. We're doing some live reactions to Xavier. Who is it? Kennesaw State? Kennesaw State, baby. We got to get some T-shirts.
We're going to get, I'm going to get you a Kennesaw State T-shirt.
I think he's going to buy himself an Xavier shirt if this bet hits.
A Furman T-shirt.
There we go.
I need one of those.
Let's go.
By the way, do you guys, are we doing did you guys mention at all? Yes, did Booby mention like who his Final Four was, or did he talk about?
Texas, and Texas.
See, I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I filled out my bracket, and I didn't even, it didn't click until, I think, Nick, I was telling you yesterday, it didn't click until late in the day yesterday after I turned it in that Booby is obviously a proud Texas Longhorn. That's who I have winning it all. I have, I believe my Final Four is Alabama. I have Alabama, Duke, Texas, and UCLA. And I have Texas knocking off Duke in the championship.
Okay, I have UCLA as my champion. And I have Texas making it pretty deep too. But yeah, he said, Booby was saying yesterday on his show that when he filled out his bracket, usually you start with the round of 64 and work your way in. He just wrote Texas in as the champion and then worked from there.
I've never done in all the years that I've done a bracket, I've never done one quite like that. Even if I was biased with, say, Ohio State or another, I've never done it that way. That's awesome. This really is, and I know it's changed a little bit. The tournament has and just college basketball has when it comes to transfer portal. What was it like last year? They had 1,100 guys were in the transfer portal.
That's insane.
It is. It's insane. But, it's one of those things where, okay, you're not getting guys that are staying for 2, 3, God forbid, 4 years. So the fans, you cheer for your school regardless. But if you're just the average college basketball fan, and you're used to seeing stars, and you want to see the star in any sport. We want to see the stars. It's the draw. That's the draw. So in college basketball, it's like, well, you get to know this star, and then the next year they're gone. So, but I still think, and Nick, I don't know, March Madness to me is the single best sporting event there is, and I'm a diehard baseball fan. I love the World Series. Super Bowl is great too, and now Xavier's got some infighting going on. That's not going to be good for anybody. That's what the Browns had last year. That's why. You don't want to do that. That's not good for anybody.
That was crazy. That kid was hot.
Yeah, it looked like he was ready to charge somebody there. His own guy, by the way. Not good. But yeah, for me, March Madness is still because of, again, games like this, because of moments like this. Moments yesterday, Furman with Mr. Bothwell doing what he did. It's just, there's something still magical about it, even if that star power or the star power you're used to seeing isn't necessarily there year after year.
I look at it this way. I think this March Madness so far has potentially, Chico, been even better because there's that lack of blue blood. And I know we talked about it a little bit that there's no North Carolina in this tournament at all, but Duke is on a little bit of a down year. Kansas is obviously up there, one of the favorites, but a lot of the big schools, Nova, the teams that we just constantly see, they're in a little bit of a downward swing. So as just a fan that doesn't really have an allegiance, obviously now in this tournament specifically, I have a little bit of an allegiance to Kent State since that's my alma mater, but it's the first time that they've been in since 2017. If I was just a spectator like I've been since 2017 when Kent was in the dance last, I'd be eating this up. The Furman wins and the, close games right here, Kennesaw State and Xavier. Like, this is awesome.
See, it's funny you say that, and 216-626-7901, 216-626-7901 here on the Chico Borman Show on Big Play. It's interesting you say that because normally I think if we're going to talk about something being more interesting or more exciting, like you really want to have a villain, or in this case, as you were talking about, the blue blood, the team that's, and you still have those. I mean, obviously Kansas is there, but I mean, think about it. Like North Carolina, I think the last time that happened, where a team won the national championship was a preseason number one.
Yeah. And
not making the tournament was like late 70s. Am I right?
I would have to look that up, but I mean, it never has happened in my lifetime.
I think it was late 70s the last time that happened, but this is what you're seeing. Kentucky isn't even, Kentucky that they used to be. So you have a lot of these schools that maybe that's part of it as well. I don't know. I just feel like, the setup itself, the spectacle that is March Madness and the tournament is still fantastic. But I do wonder, because I hear some people say, well, I don't even bother with the brand. I think it's because you grew up watching guys for 2-3 years, whether you loved him or hate him, you knew who Christian Laettner was the moment his mug was on the screen. You knew Larry Johnson and Stacey Augmon and Jim Jackson. I had to bring up Jim Jackson, my all-time favorite college basketball player. Toledo, baby.
You want to know my all-time favorite?
I'm going to guess.
Crazy? All right. You're never going to get it in a million years. Maybe you will.
Well, okay, then I'm going to need it. I was going to say somebody from Kent State, but it's
no.
Give me a hint.
The hint would give it away. It was 2013 March Madness, I think, when this guy really peaked.
Wichita
State? I think Dave might know. No, not Wichita.
Hey, Chico, hit
yes.
On 2.
Yeah.
Unmute 2.
Look at that.
Look at that.
I don't know if you did it. Did he? The red button? Can you hear this? Check 1. No, you didn't do it.
What? What are you talking about? All right. Now?
Yeah. There we go.
See? That's right.
You didn't turn yourself off, did you?
I have no idea.
No, you're good.
Don't hit any more buttons.
I am an IT guy. We're going to have to talk this out after the show.
Nick, what'd you say, 2013 team?
Yeah. Do you have a guess?
A team or a player?
My favorite March Madness player. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you guys are going to get it. It's pretty obscure, but when I say it, it's going to be no. I mean, one of them, but that's a good guess. But ready for it?
I'm trying to go through the entire the 2013 tournament. Is my mic on?
Yeah, you're on.
You're good. You're good.
Ready for it? Jimmer Fredette.
Oh my god!
I have a Jimmer Fredette BYU jersey.
Jimmer Fredette?
Yeah.
Jimmy Buckets, baby. Jimmy Buckets.
I thought he was going to be good in the NBA.
Oh, man. Yeah, so many. I remember growing up, guys, Dave, you're about my age, right? I go back to, even though I'm an Ohio State fanatic, and I mentioned Jim Jackson, but guys like Wayman Tisdale at Oklahoma and, Chris Mullen at St. John's. These,
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Those were... I am doing it. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm doing it. Like the old man. Back in my day, it was so much better.
Those were the days, man. That's when March was really March.
Shut
When,
up.
when was Antonio Gates, Nick?
That was
What year was that?
That was going to be my guess until he said it wasn't.
Right.
No, because I wasn't. I don't even remember that.
Was that like early 2000s? Yeah, I think so.
I think 02.
Yeah. I think it would have been like mid 2000s, I believe. All right.
All right, Chico, I need some good live juju here because Xavier 67, Kennesaw State 67. Oh no.
What if my screen went black? Is that a problem?
Perfect.
You're
No
still.
signal. Please check your input.
I think you keep hitting things down below. You're down 2 screens.
Did you guys? What in God's name? This is live at its best right here. I mean, this is.
You're still on, which is good. It's just,
Hit the audience with a quick 1 minute. We'll be right back. I'll fix you.
If I could find it on the screen, I would.
He has no screen.
I have no screen.
Perfect.
I'm in the dark.
Nick's on his way. Yeah, you're still live. You're good.
You guys.
There's 44 seconds left in this game.
Kennesaw State.
Oh, they just missed a layup.
It's all right. Kennesaw State. I almost said Tennessee.
His screen, not his mouse.
Kennesaw.
There you are. I put you guys on. Whoops. This looks interesting. All right, we'll be right back.
So I'm looking at Twitter, and thank you to Banger Master on Twitter. He says, Chico, nice job today. Keep it up. The tech will come second nature. I don't know, man. This is very daunting to me, especially the cables. Now I'm really afraid with the cables. Now I got to watch my feet. I'm almost like playing.
We're going to need some cable management.
Yeah. It's all right. We'll make
All right, task at hand. We've got a few seconds left in the Xavier game. 67, 18 seconds left. Prediction.
I'm going to say that Xavier pulls it out because your favorite player from Kennesaw State, Dave, Chris Youngblood.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's favorite player, Chris Youngblood, fouled out with 14 points. So, yeah, he's any games you're looking for. I'm looking forward to the Kent State game tonight.
Absolutely.
I do think that Indiana, I mean, they're good, but they've been up and down like the entire Big Ten was this year with the exception of Purdue. I think Kent State can easily win this game.
I think it was the draw that they wanted, Chico. I really do. And I think that if they could get hot at some point tonight. And I know Typico put the boost up. It's Kent money line parlayed with Sincere Carry to score more than 25. I think in the tournament, in any tournament setting, you need a guy that could take over games, and Sincere Carry, another local dude from Solon, Ohio. I think he could take over this game tonight against Indiana and really make things interesting. I don't think Kent, I think it's going to be really close. I think that line is 4.5 for a reason. I think things stay close tonight.
Sincere Carry is just such a great name.
It's a March Madness name for sure.
It totally is. Can you see like Raftery, like Sincere Carry?
Yeah. Kid was born to play in the tournament.
By the way, something else about this tournament. This will be the last for Jim Nance.
Yeah.
And of course, he went to Houston. Many people know, it's in Houston. And he played college golf, I believe, with Fred Couples. Reflog would know that.
No kidding, I didn't know that.
Yeah, him and Freddie have been friends for a long time. But I was listening, and I don't know if this is a younger generation thing, and I'm not trying to poo-poo the younger generation, but I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, Jim Nance, he needs to go." Jim Nance is phenomenal. Jim
Nance is a tradition like any other.
He really is. He's his own Butler Cabin. I mean, what can you possibly say about Jim Nance negative? Like he doesn't get too excited. I think some of it is there's Tony Romo hate, and because there's Tony Romo hate, he gets lumped into it. Because Jim Nance, to me, is as smooth and as professional and as versatile a Mike Tirico's another one out there. So Dave is absolutely. I wish we could see it. Dave is fixated on the screen.
He is locked in.
Certainly because he's just a big fan of Kennesaw State. He's been following them since his younger days. His great uncle, Rich.
Chico, we want Xavier to win.
I know.
We need Xavier.
Oh, you guys are killing me. Hey, by the way, speaking of college basketball, coming up on Monday's show, we're tracking down Vin Parisi, Fox Sports college hoops analyst, and one of my favorite guys to talk March Madness about. So we'll have 2 rounds in the books. We'll kind of reset, as we'll all need to reset after the first 2 rounds. Will Xavier be a part of it? Will Kennesaw State be a part of it? You just have to wait and see. Another 13.6 seconds. Vin Parisi will join me coming up on Monday. Mentioned earlier that Wednesdays during the baseball season, we're going to start a little bit early, but this Wednesday and going all through the Major League Baseball season, Brett Boone, host of the Brett Boone podcast and former All-Star second baseman, he's going to join us for his first. Yes! Care to elaborate there, Mr. Dave?
That went to the
that
wire.
was close. Not to cut you off, Chico.
That's all right, buddy.
1.6 seconds. Watch this. Block.
It was a beautiful block.
Dave, you owe 24 a couple of NIL bucks.
Ooh, aren't you? You right? Promo code Big Play.
Yeah,
what was the over-under on his
that
blocks
kid a couple
for the game?
dollars.
All right. So, yeah, we've got that.
Sorry. Like you said,
say to that, Bernie?
Like you said at the beginning of the show, Chico, it's all about the fun.
Yeah, it is. This has been fun, and wrapping up because we're just about out of here. God, it's just I know I'm going to sound cheesy. I know I'm going to sound corny, and I can be at times, but it is just sincerely, it is so great to be back and talking sports. And look, I realize today's, I'm trying to get technology figured out, and we've got St. Patrick's Day and March Madness, and haven't really had a chance to interact with many of you yet. That's going to come because one of the things that I was so impressed with when I talked to, Ken Miles and Dave and everybody here is I wanted that opportunity to have fans, you people, be able to call in, and whether we agree, whether we disagree, whether you call me names, which you would never do, of course. That's what it's all about. And when they said, absolutely, we're on board with that, let's go ahead and do it, bingo. So we're going to have plenty of that moving forward. And like I said, we'll be back with you again on Monday. show will begin at 1 o'clock. So looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to you mind if I full disclosure, I can't hear like in my I don't know if did I turn my
Try plugging it in.
You're such an ass. Yeah, like for the last hour, it's just I feel like I
There's
can't.
nothing to hear. You can take them off.
There you
How
go.
are you doing?
Done.
Is my hair messed up?
It looks good.
Perfect.
All right, good. So we're good to go. I was gonna bring something up and I can't remember it now.
I think you were talking about Monday that we'll be back.
Yeah. We did all that. St. Pat, Dave, you got any big St. Patrick's Day plans?
So my neighbor is the old St. Ed's wrestling coach, retired now, and big Irish guy. So I'll probably have a little Jameson, a little Guinness with him.
There you go.
So heading there after the show here.
I wonder if there's still a Dateline. Right. I mean, tournament's on, but big Dateline fan. You know, Keith Morrison. What was that? At the buzzer, Kennesaw State with a three-quarter court heave. He stepped out.
Stepped out.
They're gonna give him time back.
So
It's gonna be like 2.5 seconds.
the
Xavier Ball with 2.5 seconds.
Musketeers nursing, hanging on, gripping on for dear life to a 3-point lead, 70-67.
All for big play Dave's parlay.
That might have been my greatest live bet ever.
You think?
Oh,
Down-
I didn't realize that was for the parlay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So Xavier was down 10, 8 minutes to go. So I locked it in with a live bet at like plus 220.
Promo code.
Promo code Big Play.
There you go.
Or promo code Chico, maybe. That might be out there, Nick. Are we out
I don't
there?
know.
Let me
All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting promo code
We're getting there.
Chico. Typical sportsbook.
All right. I'll tell you what. With that, we're going to get out of here. I'll be back with you on Monday's going to be a busy day. The Reflog show going to be coming your way Monday night. I'll be back 1 until 3. The Reflog show will be at 9, and obviously recapping March Madness and everything. So it's going to be a fun time. Great to be back here. Thanks to Dave. Thanks to Nick. Most of all, thanks to all of you out there, your support and the kind words. Even if I've dropped the ball about 7 or 8 times today, it doesn't. You still love me, or at least I hope you do. We're out of here. Chico Borman Show. Again, give us a follow. Chico Show, CLE. And you can go to YouTube and check us out there. Big Play, the Chico Borman Show, and all of that, and get registered and subscribe or whatever those fancy words are. And I'll talk to you again on Monday, beginning at 1 o'clock. Have a great weekend, everybody.